Welcome to the 2016 Teacher of the Year highlight show for St. Lucie Public Schools. I'm Kevin Perry, your host for the show, and it is indeed an honor and a privilege for us to introduce to you these fabulous Teachers of the Year that represent each of their respective schools. Now, all of us have sat in the classrooms of many great teachers. Throughout the history of the world, great teachers have inspired, comforted, persuaded, and motivated. All of us can recall a certain teacher, a very special someone who inspired each of us to learn. Regardless of their fields of study, they were all visionaries who led by example and whose actions transformed lives. Every day, we, along with 100 million parents, entrust our children to teachers. They instruct them, discipline them, guide them, coach them, and inspire them to fulfill their potential. They teach social skills as well as social studies, self-esteem as well as spelling. They teach enthusiasm for learning as well as content mastery, tolerance as well as typing. They have to be counselors, mentors, friends, disciplinarians, as well as masters of their subject matter. Therefore, this program presents some extraordinary men and women whose timeless wisdom echoes the integrity, strength, character, and passion of educators all across our district and our nation. This program is a tribute to and for teachers and celebrates the special and often heroic role they play in their students' lives. This program is, in our small way, an opportunity to say thank you to those who educate, encourage, empower, and inspire the students of the world. And at this time, we're welcoming to our Teacher of the Year highlight show, Ms. Jenny Clancy, who is the fabulous Teacher of the Year for Palm Point Educational Research School. Welcome to our show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And joining her is the fantastic principal at Palm Point, Ms. Debbie Snyder. Ms. Snyder, we welcome you as well.
Well, thank you. I'm honored to be here with you, Dr. Perry.
Ms. Clancy, we want to make sure that we introduce everyone to our viewing audience, and we want them just to know a little bit more about you. So would you please introduce yourself to them, tell them what grades you teach and the subjects that you teach as well.
I'm a third grade teacher at Palm Point. I teach all subject areas. And this is actually my first year teaching third grade. I moved up from kindergarten, where I taught for 13 years.
Wow. Tell us what school you attended and what was your area of study.
I went to the University of South Florida, and I got a degree in elementary education. And right now, I'm currently pursuing a degree in early childhood with a master's degree.
When you think about the time that you have spent as an educator, what is it that inspires you to teach?
Kids inspire me to teach. I love the moments that they get it. Their aha moments for me continue to make me want to come to work every day to help them get to the place where they need to be and to achieve all those goals. I love that they love being at school because I love being at school, so for us to share that together is important and special.
Each and every day you are faced with those beautiful little boys and girls that love technology. So how do you infuse technology into your daily instruction?
Lots of different ways. We have Mobies that we use, which the kids really enjoy. We have our CABS machine where we put up on the board lots of different activities that we do. The kids, of course, have their laptops and things like that that they all know how to work already and are great at.
Let's think about your decision to be a teacher. Have you always known that you wanted to be a teacher?
Well, my mom was a teacher, so I grew up in a classroom. As a kid during the summertime, come August, that's kind of where I spent my time. I realize now kind of how lucky my mom was because I ended up setting up her whole classroom by the time I was like 12. That's what I love to do, so she kind of got out of having to set up a classroom. I did it for her. So yeah, I kind of always did know because I was surrounded by people who worked in education.
I can imagine what your answer to my next question will be, but I'll ask anyway. Is there someone or someones that actually inspired you to teach?
Well, of course, my mom.
Of course.
Following in her footsteps. But fifth grade was really a big year for me. You know, that's kind of an awkward age when you're almost going into the teenage years. And I had a teacher, her name was Mrs. Nova, and she just kind of changed learning. She just made it different. She did things that were kind of out of the box. And I really liked that. So that was the year, like, I really held on to school and just started really loving it.
Ms. Snyder, you get to witness the wonderful work that Ms. Clancy does each and every day. Tell me, what is it that you see? What is it that you hear when you enter her classroom?
Excitement from children and from Miss Clancy. You see kids actively engaged. Miss Clancy is one of those teachers who would never think to be behind her desk. She's with children and children are around her. You might see her reading with kids, you might see her hugging children, you might see her standing at computers with kids. It's an exciting room. It's a room where a lot of learning happens. I was smiling when Mrs. Clancy was talking to you about her mother because I've had an opportunity to work with her mother. And I happen to know Miss Clancy as that little girl who loved teaching. So I feel very fortunate that I had an opportunity to hire her as a teacher and see where she was as a child and where she is as a teacher. And her mom is very proud of her, and she should be very proud of her because Jenny is a fabulous teacher.
I'm sure that at Palm Point, Ms. Clancy is heavily involved in everything that goes on. Can you mention some of the things that she may be involved in that help the total operation of the school?
Absolutely, and the list is very long. When I think of words to describe Ms. Clancy, I would call her a mentor and a coach, and not only to children but to adults. She is an expert in elementary, primary education. She works with new teachers that come in every single year. She's been assigned as a mentor for our teachers. She has worked with teachers in other schools. She works a lot with the professional development department in the district. She's done some wonderful things that I'm sure she could tell you about, as far as developing a conference that was given to a lot of teachers on a Saturday. Jenny was part of that planning committee. Jenny is at school very late in the evenings. Jenny will ask to be at school on a Saturday. She will come and say, is anybody going to be here so that I can be in my classroom? And it's not only just doing her stuff. Oftentimes she's meeting teachers going into their classrooms. She's definitely involved in the entire school operations.
So not only is she instructing students, she is helping her colleagues develop, and then she's helping her colleagues across the district through our professional development department, as well with their development and their learning as well.
Absolutely.
Totally awesome. You to be commended for all of that.
Thank you.
When I listen to Ms. Snyder speak of all of that, it leads me to knowing and understand that our framework for quality instruction, DQ5, is all about engagement. So how do you purposefully plan engagement in your instruction?
My very favorite thing that I learned maybe 2 years ago is reciprocal teaching, having kids work in groups, assigning them roles, and having them almost take over the instruction. It's pretty phenomenal to watch. When I first learned it, I was a little hesitant to think that the kids could take over and handle it, and I actually started it when I taught kindergarten. And it just became such a wonderful thing to watch. And now that I teach third grade, I can even take it farther. And the kids can switch roles and choose roles, whether they be the person who reports or records. And then they present out back to the class, and everyone's engaged, everyone's participating. It also teaches them to listen to each other, because they have to learn how to do that, in the real world. It's one of my very favorite things to do.
As the ambassador of education for Palm Point, what advice would you give new teachers?
I would tell new teachers that all the feelings that they're having are okay. Everybody feels that. I would tell them to be open-minded and to listen. I would tell them to take advantage of any time they could observe, any great practices and all that, and to take it back to their classroom and to tweak it and to make it their own. Just to continue to want to learn.
Again, as the ambassador of education for Palm Point, what advice would you give to students and or parents to help ensure that that child is a success?
To always continue to work hard. This year in third grade was the first time that I was able to have conversations with my kids about work ethic. It was kind of cool to talk to them about how their work now is going to affect their future, and how if something hard comes up, that they have to just work through it, and then when they're successful at it, it's going to feel so good and they're going to be so proud of themselves.
Mrs. Snyder, you have an opportunity to speak to a selection committee, let's say at the national level, about Ms. Clancy. They're going to say, please describe her using 3 adjectives. What would those adjectives be?
First of all, I'd ask for more than 3 because
You're stuck with 3, Ms. Snyder.
because 3 would not be enough. But I would think that I would first say compassionate. Her relationships with kids is absolutely outstanding. They love her and oftentimes will perform for her. Some of those kids that could be challenges will do it just to please Jenny. So she's very compassionate. Dedicated. You talk about work ethics. She is an example of outstanding work ethics. Jenny would work 24/7. This is her life, it's her passion, it is what she wants to do, and it's very important that she does an excellent job. So she is compassionate, she's dedicated, she's a learner. I am so proud there's not a professional development activity that she does not attend. It could be a Saturday, it could be an after school. Not only does she attend them, oftentimes she teaches them, and what a better sign of a learner than they learn something well enough to teach others. So I guess that's my 3, Dr. Perry.
Great. Compassionate, dedicated, and a learner. We're going to reflect back on that learner also. Ms. Snyder, of course the committee can't let you off with just one question. Their follow-up would be, so what makes her the perfect candidate for this honor?
I think it's the experiences that Jenny has had. Jenny was a kindergarten teacher. She came to me and she said, I love it and that's my passion. I want to do more, I want to learn more. And that's when we thought about third grade would be a great opportunity for Jenny. I think she reads, she watches videos, she talks to people. I really believe that she is going to eventually someday come out of a classroom and really have a role where she's working directly with other teachers, whether it's school-based or district level. Jenny has had an opportunity to share her talents internationally. Jenny has taught in Costa Rica as well as China. She takes her best practice activities. When we have visitors on campus, we go to Jenny because we know that the kids are going to be engaged, she's going to be monitoring them, and there's going to be magnificent learning in her classroom.
Ms. Clancy, what impact do you see yourself having on students' ability to be career and college ready?
I think that with Common Core now, we are giving them tools. At first, everyone was a little hesitant, but as you see that all these kids are different types of learners, and it's so cool to watch different kids take out the different tools and strategies that you've taught them, because each of them has a special one that works for them. So I see this as strategies, and I tell my kids that they're tools that they take out of their tool belt, and they're going to be empowered with so much information when they're older.
My final question to you, when will you know that you are a success?
When will I know that I'm a success? In kindergarten, I would have told you that when parents come in and tell me their kid cries because they can't come to school. For me, that's such a great thing because I know they love coming to school, and I thought when I got to third grade my answer would be different. But it still makes me so excited when the kids are disappointed for the weekend, or they say, I can't wait to come back on a Monday. For me, that's everything. When they love learning, that's everything.
I listened to the 3 adjectives that Mrs. Snyder used to describe you, and she said compassionate, dedicated, and a learner. So I want to leave you with the words of John J. Chapman when he said, "The gift of teaching is a peculiar talent and implies a need and a craving in the teacher herself." So thank you for having that need and that craving for learning, as well as sharing knowledge with the wonderful students. Again, I also congratulate you on being selected the Teacher of the Year for Palm Point Educational Research School. Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you.
Hey, Hard, what's this?
That's my resignation letter.
You're resigning.
Why? Because you're constantly ignoring me. You're half as active as you used to be, and you get stuff like this. You've been putting me under a lot of pressure lately. That's why I'm ready to quit.
I forgot. I'll do better. Please, don't quit on me.
Okay, but remember, it's not what you say, it's what you do.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you.
Let's go for a walk.
Uncontrolled high blood pressure could lead to a stroke, heart attack, or death. Get yours to a healthy range before it's too late.
And at this time, we're pleased to welcome the fantastic Teacher of the Year for Parkway Elementary School, Miss Jessica Sauer, to our highlight show. Welcome, Miss Sauer.
Thank you for having me.
Joining Miss Sauer is the awesome principal at Parkway Elementary, Miss Carolyn Wilkins. Miss Wilkins, it's a pleasure to have you join us as well.
Thank you for having us.
It is always a pleasure for us to have this opportunity to introduce the Teachers of the Year to our viewing audience. So would you please take a minute and introduce yourself? Make sure you tell our audience what grade you teach, as well as the subjects that you teach.
I teach 3rd through 5th grade self-contained VE, and I teach all subject areas. And on top of that, not only do I teach the standards, but I also teach the access points.
Wow. So what school did you attend? Did you earn your degree from, and what was your area of study?
I am from New York originally, Syracuse. So I went to Lemoyne College.
Upstate New York.
Upstate,
yeah.
Where it's all snowy. And I received both my bachelor's and master's there, and my concentration is in special education.
So as you reflect back on your career as a teacher, being selected the Teacher of the Year, tell me, what is it that excites you about teaching?
The students coming into school every day and seeing their smile on their faces. I am very compassionate with my students, so I really take pride in seeing them come to school and enjoying learning.
Have you always known that you wanted to be a teacher?
Believe it or not, in 2nd and 3rd grade, I knew that I wanted to be a teacher. I had 2 really great teachers in those years that I admired so much, and I wanted to be just like them.
So my next question, of course, is who is it that inspired you? So tell us about them.
My 2nd and 3rd grade teacher, they were fantastic. They were fun-loving, yet when you went in, you knew you were going to learn a lot. And they just made you feel very comfortable in the classroom.
As a teacher, each and every day you have to make sure that things are happening in the classroom. But you're dealing with these students who have used technology since they were born. So how do you naturally infuse technology in instruction?
I am very lucky to have a smart board in my room for my special needs students. So I infuse that every day, every lesson. It's very interactive. They can go up to the board and touch it, move things. So we do the smart board for a lot of activities. We have the CAV system. We do a lot of discovery streaming for educational videos. And we also have our laptops and computers.
Ms. Wilkins, you get to experience the joy and the excitement in the class every day. So what do you see when you enter Ms. Sauer's class? And what do you hear in her class as well?
You hear excitement from the students because Ms. Sauer plans lessons that are very interactive. She has students from a wide range of abilities and a wide range of needs. And so Ms. Sauer makes adaptations for the individual students. In addition to what she plans regularly, she also has interactive field trips that come to the school, because that makes it more accessible for her students. So sometimes there are guest speakers, wildlife experts. She has additional support staff that comes to her room, so she provides students with opportunities for more individualized learning. And there's a lot of excitement. The kids are excited about what they learn. They want to share that when we come in.
What other activities do you see Mrs. Sauer involved in that help for the complete operation of a school?
Ms. Sauer is a lead member of our PBIS team. And so she helps plan school-wide events for our students so that they can earn their pirate bucks and spend those on some type of rewards. We just finished before break a 43-item raffle for our students, and they had many opportunities to come and buy chances to win all kinds of things before winter break, and that created a lot of excitement, as well as hot chocolate and pajama day. And so she looks for things that she knows will meet the needs of a wide array of students across the school.
Ms. Sauer, in our framework for quality instruction, DQ5 is all about engagement. When you look at the wide range of abilities and students that you have, how do you purposefully plan engagement in your lessons?
Well, a lot of my students do need one-on-one support, so we have to adapt to their needs. So there's a lot of hands-on manipulatives in my classroom to keep them on task and focused. My students love task cards and little center games, so we try to incorporate everything we can to make it engaging.
As the Teacher of the Year for Parkway Elementary, of course you are the ambassador of education. So oftentimes there may be visitors on your campus, but specifically, what advice would you give to new teachers?
Well, this is only my 4th year teaching, so I'm pretty new still. You know, you're still learning things, but I have learned since day one that if you don't go out and ask for help, or, you know, don't be embarrassed that, you know, you need to get extra help. Go out there, get it, reach out to anyone you can, inside the school, outside sources. It's going to help you.
It's my 30th year and I'm still seeking outside support, and I'm not afraid to do so. In addition to that, when we continue with the theme of advice, you have to often speak to parents and or students. So what advice would you give to students or parents to ensure that the child remains a success?
To be successful, there's a lot of parts to it. It's a collaboration of teamwork with both myself, administration, the schools, and including the home front parents. If we don't work together and figure out how to be successful, students won't get where they want to be.
Ms. Wilkins, you have an opportunity to speak to the selection committee about Mrs. Sauer. They're going to first ask you to please describe her using 3 adjectives. What's your response?
I think that she is enthusiastic, dedicated, and I think that she's committed. I think that the thing that stands out the most for Ms. Sauer is her commitment to the individual students, and she wants them to excel as individuals, and she sees them all that way. And I think that's one of the strengths that she brings to her classroom as well as the school.
Of course, the committee has a follow-up question for you.
Of course they do.
Of course. So what makes her the perfect candidate for this honor?
I think that Ms. Sauer is the perfect candidate because of her love of learning, and because she is relatively new to the profession. She brings with her that excitement, and that would be a wonderful I guess, characteristic for her to share with others, to show how exciting it is to be a teacher. It is a hard job, and it requires a lot of work, but when you have somebody who loves the position as much as she does, I think that represents everybody very well.
Ms. Sauer, in prepping your students specifically, how do you ensure that they will be career and or college ready?
In my type of classroom, you want to make sure they have the foundations and skills to make sure that they succeed in the older grades, middle school and high school. But I also want to make sure that they have the real life skills, so that when they're not in my room and they go out, they have those life skills.
Is there something new and or exciting that you may be working on this year?
Not new, but I am a part of the PBIS core team, and we have a lot of new events and programs and incentives that we're preparing for the kids.
And just in case someone in our viewing audience does not know, what is PBIS?
It's our behavior program for our school.
Ms. Wilkins, they'll give you another opportunity to speak, of course, and they'll simply say to you, is there anything else that you may want to add about the wonderful Ms. Sauer?
I think Ms. Sauer is a great representation for Parkway. Her colleagues really look up to her and believe in her as a teacher and as an individual, and that the parents and the students just love her. And I think that everybody needs to know that she's a warm, compassionate person, and that's what we need in our teachers.
Thank you so very much. Ms. Sauer, final question for you. When will you know that you are a success?
Every day when a student does something, little or big, they could be mastering their multiplication facts or simply getting a kid to hold a pencil. That's a success to me when my students are successful.
Well, again, I congratulate you on your selection
Thank
as the
you.
Teacher of the Year for Parkway. I want to thank you, of course, and Ms. Wilkins for joining us. And I want to leave you with the words of Henry Drummond when he said, "The people who influence you are the people who believe in you." Thank you for believing in our students, therefore influencing them to reach their fullest potential.
Thank you.
And then from this angle, it all makes a star.
I'm a teacher. Let me tell you what I make. I make learning a privilege, not a chore.
Show up
And frustration, a tool, not an obstacle. I make working hard seem easy, and giving up impossible.
And then we're going to turn the lights and everybody look up.
I make an old subject feel like a fresh thought.
Finally won. What's your reaction? Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And unconventional methods
Okay, what else?
common.
This is their world.
There's nothing.
And then they die. Go ahead, go, go, go.
I'm a teacher. I make more.
And at this time, we want to welcome to our Teacher of the Year highlight, Mr. Ronald Frazier, who's the Dynamic Teacher of the Year for Port St. Lucie High School. Mr. Frazier, welcome to our Teacher of the Year highlight show.
Thank you for having me.
Also joining us is Miss Bridget Hargadine, who's the fantastic, wonderful, marvelous principal at Port St. Lucie High School. Miss Hargadine, thank you for joining us as well.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here for Ron.
It is indeed a pleasure for us to have the opportunity to introduce the Teachers of the Year for St. Lucie County to our viewing audience. So, Mr. Frazier, would you please just say hello to our audience, introduce yourself, and let them know what grade or grades and subjects that you teach?
Good evening. My name is Ronald Grenville Frazier. I teach 10th grade, World History, dual enrollment, 11th grade, U.S. History, 12th grade, AP Government. I also teach dual enrollment American History.
And wow, that's a lot to do. A busy man
Yes, sir.
at Port St. Lucie High School.
And I love every minute of it.
Where did you attend school and what was your program of study?
I attended Worcester State College, Worcester, Massachusetts. I was a history major. I was also a member of Phi Alpha Theta Upsilon Rho History Honor Society. I majored in American history, world history, and European history.
Busy man.
I have a master's degree in history also.
Okay. Mr. Frazier, what is your favorite part of teaching?
My favorite part of teaching is preparing young people, not just for the classroom and the grade, but preparing students for life, the experiences of life, to be able to go out and be successful citizens, and to give back to society.
When we think about your favorite part of teaching, I can't hesitate but ask you, is there someone, let me first ask, did you always know that you wanted to be a teacher?
No, sir. I spent a few years in the private sector. My experiences in college really opened up my eyes to teaching, but it wasn't until I got the opportunity in Massachusetts. I taught in the Department of Youth Services. I taught 21 worst male juvenile offenders in Massachusetts. That was my indoctrination. And one thing I learned from that is not what is done in the classroom, is what you do to build positive relationships. You need to build a positive relationship to be successful with students, and that's where I learned to do that.
When you think about that decision to become a teacher, I'm sure you had a moment to reflect. Can you reflect and say that there was a teacher or multiple teachers that had an impact that kind of inspired or influenced that decision?
Absolutely. While in college, especially college, as an undergraduate, I had a gentleman by the name of Dr. Shea, and incredible person. He really opened my eyes up to the opportunity, the possibilities of presenting history in the class and how to do it, how to engage students.
Ms. Hargadine, you get to witness the wonderful work that Mr. Frazier does every day. What is it that you see and hear when you enter his room?
I see a passionate, committed teacher who's using every resource available to reach every single student as much as possible and engage them in his own love of history and engage them in becoming literate citizens. And I see happy, smiling faces and students who will work so hard for this man every time I come into his room.
What other activities is Mr. Frazier involved in at Port St. Lucie High School?
It might be better to ask what he's not involved in. Mr. Frazier is very heavily involved in our school in many different roles. Mr. Frazier sits on our RTIA, our Academic Intervention Team committee, as well as our MTSS committee. Mr. Frazier is a teacher leader in the Applied Sciences Academy. He works with our Shine Nest program, mentoring brand new teachers. He is our teacher representative who's been learning about the art and science of teaching with Dr. Ruleski. Mr. Frazier is also running professional learning communities for our teachers after school that teachers can volunteer to be a part of, and he shares his learning with them. He is a very busy man. He takes on projects for me at the drop of a hat and for our school. He's been heavily involved in our African American history curriculum throughout the whole school year, and he's been heavily involved in bringing in guest speakers to our school to help our students become voters.
So not only is he instructing students, he's helping staff members grow by providing professional development, but he's also mentoring staff members as well. Great. That's the mark of a truly great teacher. I heard both of you use the word engagement. I also heard you talk about the studies with Mark R, as we call him. So we know that all DQ5 in our framework for quality instruction is all about engagement. How do you purposefully plan engagement in your instruction?
By utilizing all the elements of the Marzano framework, especially. It's my intent that all students get it, not just a few. And the strategies that I learned last year as a teacher leader and also this year has allowed me to target all my students to be more effective in the classroom in engagement, whether it's IB, U.S. history, AP government, or U.S. history, or dual enrollment. I utilize all of those elements as much as possible to engage students.
As the ambassador of education for Port St. Lucie High School, what advice would you give to a new teacher?
Have passion. Learn a little bit about classroom management. That's big. It's really a big issue with young teachers. Be able to put the time in, spend the extra time, and also learn as much as possible, especially as Ms. Harkendine mentioned, the Mark Ruleski. It's incredible how that situation has opened my eyes up and demystified the program and being able to share with a lot of the new teachers. As a matter of fact, I have a PD tomorrow after school. We're going to do element 12 and 13. We're on DQ1, DQ2. I'm going to bring them to DQ3, DQ4. It's incredible because I love doing it, and I like to make a change, make a point.
Remaining with the idea about advice, what advice would you give to a student or to a parent to ensure that that child remains a success?
We're all stakeholders. The students, the teacher, and the parent. Communication is very important. Communicate with that parent. Stay focused, especially the children that fall in the cracks. Stay focused. Follow up. Communication is key. Also, it's preparing students to be successful. Student success is number one. It's not what we do in the classroom. It's how we prepare them to go out into the real world. And it's great. I've seen so many of my students come back. School psychologists in one of the elementary schools, one of my former students, a police officer, a teacher. It's incredible. And that, to me, that's celebrating success, for me, basically.
Ms. Harkendine, throughout the course of this year, you will have an opportunity to speak about your Teacher of the Year for Port St. Lucie High School. One of the questions that you might be asked is, to describe him using 3 adjectives, what would you say?
I would say Mr. Frazier is a passionately positive, committed, and caring teacher. His passion, every day I get a text from Mr. Frazier saying, I can't wait to get this day started. Our school is doing wonderful. I'm so excited to be here. That kind of passion rubs off on everyone that is around Mr. Frazier, whether it's students, parents, teachers, or community members that he meets out in public. And his level of commitment, his willingness to put the time in to our students and to designing his work for students up front pays off in dividends. The students know that he's committed to their success. And that goes right into his level of care for each student as an individual. It's very important to Ron that no one slips by without learning what they need to learn to move on and be successful.
The committee will have a follow-up question that simply asks, what is it that makes him the perfect candidate for this honor?
I would say that level, full-on 100% commitment and passion about teaching history makes him the perfect candidate. He doesn't stop teaching when he's inside our classrooms. He's teaching after school, whether it's teachers or students preparing them in U.S. history boot camps. He's in our community at local libraries giving lectures on local history, sunken ships from World War II, and that sort of thing. He's everywhere. He's also teaching as an adjunct professor at IRSC. So he doesn't just teach students. He teaches students and he teaches everyone in our community.
Is there anything else that you may want to add about Mr. Frazier, since he is the fantastic Teacher of the Year for your school?
I would have to say I really admire someone who's been in this game this long. He's taught for many, many years, and yet every day he comes in with the wide-eyed energy of a first-year teacher, the same level of enthusiasm every day that you would get from someone who's brand new to the profession. Ron brings with him every day in the classroom.
Mr. Frazier, in all of the work that you do each and every day preparing students, how would you say that you are preparing them to be career and or college ready?
That's a great question. Because I'm an adjunct professor at Indian River State College, I see the other side. I see the students going into college. The high school students, see, it's building relationships. It's a one-on-one, staying focused. And I'll ask them, what is your plans for the future? What goals? You have to set goals for yourself. The opportunities to excel. What do you really want to do with yourself in life? And being an older teacher with a lot of experience, I explain to them, you stay for a career. A job is a job that you do. A career you have passion for, you enjoy doing. That's what I try to impress upon my students. To have a career path, a choice that they're very happy and secure with.
Thinking about your career and your passion and you being happy, when will you know that you are a success?
Well, it's tough. I'm an overachiever, so I probably, not for a while, I'll be honest with you, because I'm enjoying this. I really enjoy, as Ms. Hargadine mentioned, in the community. I do approximately 15 lectures a year for Martin County Library Systems and Port St. Lucie Library Systems, the House of Refuge, the LE Museum. I love the interaction of bringing local history, Fort Pierce, the railroads, World War II, the 1715 Platte to Fleet. I love extending, going on in the community to make connections with students. A lot of my students come to my lectures. It's incredible. One of the professors from IRSC has his students come to my lectures in Martin County. It's really opened up a lot of opportunity for me. I'm also thinking in the beginning stages of writing a book, a local history book in this area. That's where my passion is, and that's what I do.
Thank you for your passion. Thank you for joining us here as we highlight the Teachers of the Year for St. Lucie Public Schools. Congratulations on your honor of being selected as the Teacher of the Year for Port St. Lucie High School. Ms. Hargadine, also thank you for joining us. And in the words of Plato, I want to tell you that he said, the direction in which education starts a man will determine his future life. So thank you for making sure that these students start out right, because it's going to affect them for all eternity. Again, congratulations.
Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate that.
Which planet are we living on? Right here.
What do you think it would be like to teach? Chances are, you have no idea.
Turn the lights and everybody look up.
Teachers today are breaking down obstacles, finding innovative ways to instill old lessons, proving that greatness can be found in everyday places, and that you don't need to be famous to be unforgettable. That's what it's like to teach.
At this time, we want to welcome the fantastic Teacher of the Year for Morningside Elementary School, Dr. Jane Hartman. Welcome to our Teacher of the Year Spotlight Show.
Thank you very much. Very excited to be here.
Thank you. Joining Dr. Hartman is Ms. Cortina Belgray, who's the fabulous principal at Morningside Elementary. Yay. Welcome also.
Thank you, and we are indeed glad to be here as well.
Thank you. Dr. Hartman, at this time, we just want to introduce all of the wonderful Teachers of the Year for St. Lucie Public Schools to our viewing audience. So if you would, take a second and just tell everybody who you are, the grades that you teach, and the subjects as well.
Okay. I co-teach 4th grade gifted, and so it's all subjects.
Now, you said I co-teach. What does the co-teach thing mean for our audience?
We have more than the 23 students that you would need for one teacher, and so Mrs. McBee and I co-teach together 4th grade.
Where did you attend school, and what was your area for your area of study?
I started out at Youngstown State University, and my undergraduate degree was in elementary education with a minor in math. And then I got my master's degree at Kent State University in reading, and then my doctorate is from USF in curriculum.
Tell me this. Wonderful teacher, impacting the lives of many students each and every day, but what's your favorite part of teaching?
I was thinking about, we just went to St. Augustine on a field trip, and one of the little guys was sitting next to me. And we were on the trolley ride, which is near the end of the trip. And he said, "Oh, Dr. Hartman, my face hurts." "How does your face hurt, buddy?" "I have been smiling all day." That's what I really love about teaching, is seeing the kids doing things that they wouldn't be doing if we weren't there to teach them. And anyway, my favorite part is watching the kids, the expression, what they're learning and gaining.
Great. Tell me this. Have you always known that you wanted to be a teacher?
Always.
Wow. Well,
without a doubt.
Because you've always known, do you think that there was someone that inspired you along the way to make that decision?
Always. Yes, my mother.
Your mom.
Yeah. Now, my mom was not a teacher, but she had 6 children, and she was our teacher in every way. She wasn't a formal teacher, she wasn't a school teacher, but she was our teacher, and she was definitely my inspiration.
Knowing that the students that you reach every day are part of this information age where they were probably born with technology at their fingertips, how do you naturally infuse technology in instruction?
We have computers within the classroom. We have 2 computer labs, which is wonderful, so that the students can go and do research on topics that we begin to study together as a class. Oftentimes we either have a novel study that we do, or something that we're reading, or something in science and social studies, and we start to say, here's the topic, what else do you want to know about this? Well, when you go to the computer lab, and we're fortunate to have 3 times a week to go to the computer lab, so that they can take their composition book with them, they can have their questions, they can start taking notes on the things that they're interested in, which then support each other's learning about a topic, because there's just so much out there and available. The websites, the Common Core materials that are available now, the nonfiction text, the math opportunities for gaming and for gaining skills. There's just so much available to the students in the school.
Ms. Belgray, you have the opportunity to see the wonders of Dr. Hartman's class each and every day. What is it that you see and hear when you enter her room?
Oh, wow. What I see, especially referring to Dr. Hartman as the teacher, I see a person who's asking high-order thinking questions. She's making sure she's getting those students that critical information, providing those opportunities for students to elaborate and inference and justify. And then I see students working cooperatively in groups, teams, many times. They are researching, they are looking for those answers, and always having to provide that evidence for their answers. She does a wonderful job of making sure that it's not, oh, well, tell me why it's that answer. Where did you get your evidence from? Citing, the evidence of answers. And so she has a wonderful way of pulling that out of students without making them think, oh, it's so difficult or it's more work that has to be done. So I see a very lively classroom. She's always on her feet. We say, you can't teach from your seat. And absolutely, you remember that cliche. And she is one that's very high energetic, and her energy exudes to her students. And so there's a high amount of energy in that classroom, and learning is very interactive.
Tell me this. She has to be involved in many activities or committees on campus that make the school work. Can you highlight some of those for us?
She has, one thing I love about Dr. Hartman is she certainly has a school-wide focus. Sometimes in the teaching profession you can become a little isolated and not always reaching out beyond your four walls of your classroom. She constantly reaches out. She is one of our teacher leaders. She is our social studies contact person. She goes to the district meetings and comes back. She serves as an OM coach. Oh my gosh, she does so many things that are, she's our CPOMS champion. So she trains our teachers on CPOMS. She's in contact with FSU and other leaders around the state, getting information and bringing that information back to our teachers. She loves to collaborate. She loves to gain knowledge and then also collaborate and share that knowledge. So she is in the inner workings of the school. If anybody needs something, she'll serve as a mentor without the official title of mentor. She knows kids outside of her classroom because she takes the time to get to know all of the students and all of the teachers, and she's a constant resource. Teachers come to her all the time, not only for information, but for training and ideas and strategies.
Teaching students,
yes,
mentoring without the title, but still mentoring,
yes,
and providing professional development to help staff members continue to grow, which can't do anything but help the entire school grow.
It absolutely helps.
Commendable
the entire
job.
school.
Dr. Hartman, when I listen to all of that and hearing Mrs. Belgrade say how interactive your lessons are, the classes are, and the other opportunities, it leads me to believe that there's a lot of engagement that happens. We all know that our framework for quality instruction, DQ5, is all about engagement. So how do you purposefully plan engagement in instruction?
I was fortunate to attend the Kagan week-long training, and so I clearly understand the importance of physical movement and grouping students, and academic games. This course is important as well. But we have a lot of children, so we have them in groups of 6, and they all have an assigned number, and so we'll have students like stand and number 1 stand and then move, and so we have a lot of physical movement in our classroom. I think that's an important part of the engagement piece. We do try with our, with engagement in the planning of lessons, we do use a lot of different resources, again, where the students select self-interest as well as the resources that are available to us at a high challenging level. So we plan the lesson to be engaging, and then we also incorporate activities so the kids are physically moving, they're interacting with different students, and we kind of manage who they're going to interact with to get the best benefit of students helping each other.
As the ambassador for education at Morningside, you may be asked to speak to others. Let's target new teachers, and what would your advice be to them?
I'm really proud to say that my 2 boys are both the new teachers, and so I have many many conversations with new teachers at this point. My older son Joseph is teaching at Lincoln Park Academy. He's grade gifted, so he has some of the same students that I've had, so our conversations are just wonderful. And my younger son Michael just graduated from UF, and he's teaching biology, 10th grade, at a wonderful school, Westport in Ocala. So those conversations are very often with new teachers, and they're both very enthusiastic and nervous. And the thing that I encourage with them and with others, although I have to tell myself the same thing, is that when a student doesn't seem to be getting it, you just take it so personally. And I encourage them to try not to, and to try different ideas, and do take a look at those that are being really successful. my one set had some students with a 93% on the EOC, and he was not focusing on those. I said, no, honey, they learned biology because of you. So my encouragement is that look at the whole picture, look at the things that you need to work on, but also celebrate the successes as a new teacher, because there are many of them. And be flexible, because it's going to, things, you just have to keep making adjustments constantly.
Yes. What advice would you give to parents to help ensure them that their children will be a success?
Reading is one of the most important things. The students have to read, children have to read, and they have to read with the child, and read before they take them to the movie, and then talk about the comparison movie with book. Reading is absolutely critical. Math skills are important, and that's something that can be very joyful. You can set goals for fluency, for concepts. Don't ever share that you weren't good at math. Always say, math is so important, and even though it was a little hard, we can do it too. To praise 4 times the criticism. I think that's something we learned as teachers, and I think parents maybe need to remember that as well, that children remember the praise and the encouragement and the uplifting. But they also need to be shown or helped to identify those areas that they still need to grow. Explore everything. Try dance, try music, try the arts, try soccer, try football, try everything, try the trombone. Until you and then you'll find something that you become passionate about.
You'll fall right into it.
So just, maybe I wasn't that good at it, but you might be. Love your child, and we'll love them too.
Ms. Belgray,
yes.
You have an opportunity to speak to the selection committee about Dr. Hartman. Their first question would be, please describe her using 3 adjectives. Your response?
I would say she's steadfast, because she definitely is a person that is relentless, does not give up. Like she says, I'm looking at the kids that are, I celebrate my successes, and I'm also looking at the kids that are unsuccessful. And she puts in a lot of hours to make sure that her kids are reaching success. She's unpretentious, very humble, does not like a lot of fanfare, so this is kind of different for her. But she just goes about her way in a very demure manner. Not really wanting, attention for it all. She just wants to make sure that she's doing the best for the students and for the school. And lastly, I would describe her as collegial, because she does work very well with colleagues, making sure, like we said, she's providing the professional development and ensuring that, that they have what they need. And when they come to her, if she's not able to meet that need, she lets me know or says, here's how can we work through this? So that problem-solving piece is, always there with her as well. And I would just say she's just a wonderful personality to work with.
I'm sure the committee will follow up with the question, so what makes her the perfect candidate for this honor?
Her deep pedagogy. She has a deep knowledge base of her curriculum. She took our students to the world competition for OM last year, and they got 2nd place. That is not an easy task. Spent a lot of hours with that group. And I would say she is representative, I think, of a teacher who is in the trenches each and every day, working certainly hard, very dedicated to make sure that she's keeping parents informed, while working with their students and making sure that they're being successful each and every day.
Dr. Hartman, how are you preparing your students to be career and college ready?
Reading.
It's fundamental. Those who read succeed.
It is very important. But also setting goals, working hard, seeing the benefits of working hard, understanding what the standards are, and knowing that the kinds of things that help you to get closer to those standards. I'm very grateful that the district has adopted the DBQ, because that's definitely helping students to be analytical and making inferences and writing essays once they've done that full analysis, and I think that really will help them to be college ready and career ready. Getting along with each other, group teamwork is really, really important, and saying the compliment before you disband from being, reviewing each other's work. Say a compliment before you, walk away, or before you make that suggestion for improvement. So I think that, again, getting along with each other, being kind, being hardworking, reading, enjoying thinking, having the joy of learning something new. A problem is a beautiful opportunity, to learn another thing. So
reading, being critical, analytical, and working as a team. So with that, when will you know that you are a success?
that is probably the hardest question. I don't think you ever reach it. It's there's always more to do, and that one just stumps me.
Well, we're going to take this time to simply say congratulations on your
Thank you.
Being selected as the Teacher of the Year for Morningside Elementary. Thank you for joining us as we highlight teachers and introduce you to our community. Ms. Belgray, thank you for joining us as well. And I just choose to leave you with these words. Teaching is the choicest of professions because everybody who is anybody was taught how to be somebody by a teacher. Thank you for the wonderful job that you do each and every day.
Thank you.
Listen to me. I am captain of the track team. And if I'm late,
She doesn't really think she's going to get out of here, does she?
Be nice. She's new. Hello, is anyone there? Ugh!
Wow. Even from our standards, you look awful.
Oh, sweetie, what happened? Me? My friend Becky got to talk to this super cute boy, and I tried to act like I wasn't jealous, but I so totally was. And then out of nowhere, this concrete barrier just popped up. Maybe it was a semi. You mean you were driving? Yeah. I mean, I know the whole eyes on the road thing, but this was a super important text. Maybe you have to know, Becky.
Texting? Great.
But it was only like 5 seconds, and I'm a really, really fast texter, so it wasn't even a big deal. Actually, has she texted me back yet? Wow, I get like no bars in this place. I wonder if they have Wi-Fi here.
It is our pleasure to welcome to our Teacher of the Year highlight show, Miss Alicia Moore, who's the dynamic Teacher of the Year for Savannah Ridge Elementary. Welcome to our highlight.
Thank you.
Joining Mrs. Moore is LaTanya Green, the dynamic principal at Savannah Ridge. Mrs. Green, welcome also.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
It is indeed my pleasure to have this opportunity to introduce you to our viewing audience and let them know the fantastic work that you're doing as the Teacher of the Year at Savannah Ridge Elementary. So let's start right there and have you introduce yourself to our viewing audience. Make sure you tell them the grades that you work with as well as the subject that you're teaching.
Oh, okay. I'm Alicia Moore, Media Specialist at Savannah Ridge Elementary, and I'm kindergarten to 5th grade.
So that means you see all of the students in the school?
All the students, yes.
Wow. I believe that the library is a wonderful place. It's the home of the scholar, and I believe in reading. Tell us, Ms. Moore, where did you attend school and what was your program of study?
I attended school in Baton Rouge, Louisiana at Southern University.
That's you?
Yes, yes. And my major was mental health counseling.
Okay, all righty. And throughout these years that you have been working with children teaching, tell me, what is your favorite part of teaching?
My favorite part is getting the kids engaged. I believe it should be fun, exciting, and that they should use their imagination as well as, explore other opportunities as far as technology and just soar.
Fun, exciting, and use their imagination. Sounds just like a media specialist who's engaged in books and bringing books alive and making, awesome. Tell me this, when did you decide that you wanted to be a teacher?
Actually, not right away I didn't. But after my mom, she taught for over 30 years, and I sort of focused on her. And I wanted to become a teacher because she taught, and she inspired me with her passion and devotion to teaching.
Oh, that's a perfect answer to my second question, which was going to be, who inspired you? But it was Mom. What did Mom teach?
Mom taught reading, English, and language arts.
And now you're in the Media Center, the home of the scholar, dealing with reading, language arts.
We both have a love of reading.
Oh, yes. Excellent, excellent. Mrs. Green, you have the opportunity to see the Media Center come alive under the work of Ms. Moore every day. What is it that you see and hear when you walk into the Media Center?
Well, I would say to bring the Media Center to life would actually be an understatement. One thing that Mrs. Moore has actually done is that she captures that attention and engage kids in learning in a way that we have not seen before at Savannah Ridge. We've definitely had some dynamic media specialists in the past, and what Ms. Moore brings to that position is that she has a background in really understanding what children's needs are and skill level, and we've seen that come to life in the Media Center with the differentiation across the board from grades K to 5. So we don't see kids just sitting at tables reading books or checking out books. We see kids interacting, and we see leveled work based on the needs and skills of our students. So for example, kindergarten students are usually on the carpet doing whole group with Mrs. Moore. She's using the big books that she's collaborated with our grade group teachers and work with teachers in terms of engaging students and meeting the needs and working on the skills they need. And then you will see a range in 5th grade where kids are actually engaged in doing thinking maps, organizing their thinking to dig really deep into their essay writing and build those skills in that manner.
So what other activities or committees is Mrs. Moore involved in at Savannah Ridge?
Mrs. Moore is one of our lead teachers on our literacy committee. She's one of our PBS people that share out and give ideas, and she is always willing to help and jump in on any committee that needs her and needs her input and support in order to keep our children at the core and center of what we do and why we do what we do at Savannah Ridge.
Ms. Moore, I heard you use the word engagement, and of course Mrs. Green used the word engagement.
Yes.
We all know that DQ5 of our Framework for Quality Instruction is all about engagement. So how do you purposefully plan engagement for your instruction in the Media Center?
What we do is I use what's called a sequencing rug. After we read a story, the kids retell the story standing on the rug, and I usually have so many volunteers because they're so eager to retell the story on the sequencing rug. And they stand on the rug. The first part of the rug is the beginning of the story, and then they go to 3 parts, which is the middle, and then they conclude with the end. Also, I use the 5 W's, of course, as far as telling stories. So that's how I engage the kids. And with the primary kids, with reading, after reading a story, I use manipulatives. And I give them, it's like little plastic parts of the story, and I hand it to them, and they iterate what is in the story and the characters as far as how it relates to the story with the manipulatives.
As the ambassador for education at Savannah Ridge, you be called upon to speak to many other educators, specifically new teachers. What would your advice be to new teachers?
I would tell them to keep positive, always have a positive thought. All kids are here to learn. Also tap into their mentors, team chairs, and literacy coaches if they have any questions. And also be flexible. Things change at a moment's notice, and just be flexible. Have fun with learning.
Have fun with learning.
Yes, and educating the students.
That's excellent advice. Let's stick there. You will have an opportunity to speak with parents. What would your advice be to parents to help them ensure that their child is a success?
I always advise open communication. Get involved with the school, get in touch with the teacher, find out what their child is learning. We have websites, and just get involved in their child's education.
Ms. Green, throughout the entire Teacher of the Year process, you'll have an opportunity to speak to many different committees that select Teachers of the Year here in St. Lucie County, maybe the state of Florida, even national. And one of their questions might be, describe Mrs. Moore using 3 adjectives. Your response?
My response would be only 3.
And I would have to say yes, Mrs. Green.
Okay, all right. Flexible, for sure. A learner, and very positive. And I think having those 3 things and incorporating them with all of the other skills and talents that Mrs. Moore brings to the board truly makes for a dynamic Teacher of the Year and truly a dynamic teacher and ambassador for St. Lucie County.
So their follow-up will be, so what makes her the perfect candidate for this honor?
The perfect candidate because she is a learner, and she is open to change, and she is open to learning and taking in information and keeping of what we need to do to make sure that our children are being educated. And just because she's not a classroom-based teacher, that learning takes place in all aspects on our campus and in all areas, and that is always at her focus. And one thing even with that is that although she pulls those kids and she has an opportunity to see all of our babies at the school, one of the things that she builds that love outside of that by doing our news show. And even within her news show, just setting that stage and pulling kids in and being that face to get those things out there, which extends into her community as well, which would make her be the perfect candidate for Teacher of the Year.
And I'm sure the committee would allow you to have the opportunity just to tell us anything else that you want to talk about. Tell us about your Teacher of the Year, Mrs. Moore.
One thing that Mrs. Moore brings and that has done for Savannah Ridge is that sometimes that there is a hurdle with change, and being open and flexible and being willing to change on a moment's notice, and keeping kids at the focus and at the center of attention in terms of what needs to take place, following up with that, keeping the data at the forefront, engaging kids in learning and making learning fun is one of many key components and elements of being a good teacher and being a good inspiration to children. And Ms. Moore has that gift, and she brings that aspect and that component. And with the ever-changing things that are happening with education, she seems to be on top of it and all over it, and she makes sure that takes place at school with our children, and having the gift and ability to touch all 540 of our children makes it even more better and enhances their learning and their education.
I totally agree. I believe that the Media Center is the heartbeat of the school, and without the heartbeat, there would be no life. So thank you for the joy that you're bringing in, inspiring all 540 of the students in your classroom setting, which is the Media Center. And in doing so, Ms. Moore, let's think about students' future. How are you preparing your students to be career and or college ready?
When working with the kids, I always tell them reading and strategies are lifelong lessons, and how we go about doing those things is for life, middle school, high school, college. I also inspire them to reach for the stars, that they are capable of going to college. And sometimes I use myself as an example, and I explain how I went to college, had to work my way through school, and everyone is capable. I believe in the No Child Left Behind, and they are our future.
Is there something new or something different or exciting that you're doing on campus this year that you may want to share with our viewing audience?
Oh, yes. Ms. Green just mentioned it for a moment there. TV Studio has really triumphed as far as our school. I invented a blog team, breaking news team. We have a presenters team. I have a menu team, tech team, camera team, and the kids are so eager to get on the air. The other students are envious because they are on the air, and I have different prompts and stuff in order, to make the TV, be a little lively and pop. Also, I might be looking into, someone suggested that using my TV team to go in on down south to air on a news air.
So you're training the future people that may be filming and video and producing this show.
Someone suggested that I should look into that and get my kids on there.
Oh, perfect. So tell me this. My final question for you. When will you know that you are a success?
I actually, when the kids are engaged and happy and learning and making progress, which is actually, they're doing that now.
Well,
when the kids are successful, we are successful.
I love the Media Center. I truly believe that those who read succeed. It's foundational for everything that we all do. So I want to congratulate you on your selection as Teacher of the Year for Savannah Ridge, and for coming on the Highlight Show to let us introduce you to our viewing audience.
Thank you for having me.
Ms. Green, thank you for joining us as well. And let me give you these words from Albert Schweitzer when he said, "Sometimes our light goes out, but is blown into flame by another human being. Each of us owes our deepest thanks to those who have rekindled this light. Thank you for continuing to rekindle that light, that fire, to burn bright in the lives of those 540 students at Savannah Ridge. And again, congratulations on being the Teacher of the Year."
Thank you.
I'm one unlucky guy. The chance of being involved in a robbery is 1 in 757. The chances of being struck by lightning. 1 in 750,000.
Please fasten your seatbelts for unexpected turbulence.
The chances of being a victim in an airline crash? 1 in 29 million. Hey, could I get some peanuts? The chances of being involved in a car crash are far greater than lightning strikes and plane crashes. And if you are texting while driving, your risk of crash increases 23 times. Now, I may be an unlucky guy, but I don't have to be part of that statistic, and neither do you. Drive responsibly.
Joining us now is the dynamic Teacher of the Year from Southern Oaks Middle School, Mr. Cliff Robinson. Welcome to the show, Mr. Robinson.
Thank you, Dr. Perry.
Joining us also is the wonderful principal at Southern Oaks Middle School, Miss Lisa Sullivan.
Thanks for having us.
At this time, it's always a pleasure to congratulate everyone that's been selected as the Teacher of the Year, but most of all for us to have this opportunity to introduce the Teachers of the Year for all of our schools to our viewing audience. So Mr. Robinson, just take a minute and introduce yourself to our audience. Make sure you tell them what grade you teach as well as the subjects that you teach.
Well, my name's Cliff Robinson. I'm a math teacher over at Southern Oaks Middle School, teach mathematics in 6th grade.
In the 6th grade.
6th grade?
Yes.
Okay, no problem. What school did you attend and what was your program of study for your degree?
I ended up going to North Carolina Central University, study in sociology and psychology.
And ended up teaching math with us?
Teaching math.
All right. Tell me this, as you think back to the time that you have been teaching, what is your favorite part of teaching?
I say my favorite part of teaching is basically, I would say, getting hands-on with the kids, being able to go in and making things that's actually relevant to them instead of just in there just talking, getting them a lesson that I know they're going to use further in life beyond living out of my classroom.
So we're making the math instruction relevant to their real-world experiences and things that they're great. Here's another one, Mr. Robinson. We know that all of the children that you're working with were born in this technology age. So how do you naturally include technology in your instruction?
Well, I use technology in several different ways. One thing we have is our interactive whiteboards. We use the interactive whiteboards to be able to get the kids a hand-on feel instead of using the traditional whiteboards or the traditional textbooks and pencil. Also use technology because we build blogs where the kid can be able to go on to look at homework assignments or have a chat one-on-one conversation with the teacher.
You told me what your major was, which leads me to have to ask this question. When did you decide that you wanted to be a teacher?
I decided I would want to become a teacher when basically it was just growing up, just trying to find a way to give back to my community where I come from, and then, you know, send some of the kids from where I grew up, just decided I wanted to just come in and become a teacher and try to make an impact on people's lives as some did for me.
That's very important, especially when you look at the middle school age, because I will tell you personally, I didn't want to teach middle school. It takes a special person to be a middle school teacher. Thinking back, because you thought about teaching, can you say that there was a teacher that possibly inspired you to want to go into education?
In all honesty, you was one of the teachers that actually inspired me. Besides yourself, and you know, and watch you as you know, I was go through Westwood. I always see you through the chorus class, and you know, I always like the way you professionally dressed, professionally mannered, and always come. You always talk to the young guys, and that right there was something that kind of tied me into, you know, like, hey.
Well, you know,
that's a nice little role model. So, and then follow on to that, then you know, then kind of tied into teaching. So,
well, thank you, sir. I guess this interview could be over now. No. Here we go, Miss Sullivan. You get to watch the magic that's created
yes, I do.
In Mr. Robinson's room every day. So tell me, what is it that you hear? What is it that you see when you enter into his classroom?
Aside from the quality instruction that Mr. Robinson delivers on a regular basis, What inspires me when I go into his classroom is the community that he's built with his students. They are polite to each other. They care about each other. When somebody responds, they all have a choral response as to how they should respond to each other with respect and dignity. And you walk in there and you feel that in the classroom. It is just it's so important for middle schoolers. And he has our 6th graders that are just transitioning and are nervous. And that's just the way it is. When he talks about modeling your professional dress, he looks like this every day.
Yes.
And you know that because you've come to my school many times.
Yes, ma'am.
And there are students and I was looking for the pictures today because I have so many of them, of students that copy the way he dresses, that want to be just like Mr. Robinson.
Great.
And it doesn't end when they leave 6th grade. He goes to 7th grade with them to 8th grade. I see him at the Westwood football games or the Central football games. I see him in the basketball games. I see him in the community. He regularly says to me, on my planning period, this student that I mentor is in the Honor Society today. Can I go watch him be inducted? I have this student I used to mentor. I have my, the boys that he mentors in the community. It's just always about the community, and he brings that to Southern Oaks for us.
So not only is it the community on campus,
right, exactly,
but it's also the community.
It's the extended community.
Great.
And as we're trying to bring more parents and community into Southern Oaks, he's a leader of that.
Very important. Very
one
important.
Of the first cars there, one of the last cars to leave.
Great. With that being said, what are the activities, committees that he's involved in that help for the total operation of the school?
He sits on every committee. He really does. He's part of my parent liaison group. He's part of our SAC committee. He's part of our math integrating technology. We're also a pilot for some one-to-one. Cliff does a ton of professional development for that. He also is a leader in online assessments. He helps create the math assessments online to give these kids practice with our new standards and the computer piece that will come along with that. That's a huge task that Cliff has started along with a few other of his team, and are really being leaders at Southern Oaks with that. And it's not just in the math teachers. He's going into language arts classrooms and helping science classrooms. It's just that gentle giant way if he goes in there and what can I do to support. It's never I can't do this, it's what can I do to make Southern Oaks the place to be.
So when we think about Mr. Robinson, we can say that he's not only instructing students, but then he's mentoring students.
Absolutely.
And then he's collaborating with his colleagues to develop things that will promote academic excellence at Southern Oaks.
Every day.
Mr. Robinson, as I listen to Mrs. Sullivan speak, I hear phrases and words that lead me to the word engagement. And we know that our framework for quality instruction, DQ5, is all about engagement. So how do you purposefully plan engagement and use engagement during your daily instruction?
I purposely use engagement, just basically coming to my classroom with the enthusiasm already. So once I come in excited about the curriculum or the lesson, therefore my energy leads off to my kids and makes them excited about the lesson. Another thing, we also have like a one-on-one discussions among myself and the kids, and I separate the kids to have either, what your answer thinks about towards his answer, or they have a debate on what each other answer, and then basically with that, and even with the engagement piece too, we also do the whiteboards, showing them never want to get them to a point to keep them always lively and pumped and excited about learning.
So not only will students have an opportunity to answer the question, they have to demonstrate their knowledge about why they have that answer, and also demonstrate their knowledge about the process for coming up with that answer.
Yes, sir.
Every student is successful in some way in Mr. Robinson's class, which leads to that safety environment so kids are not afraid to make mistakes and learn from each other. That's part of his engagement in the class. They want to participate because they know that they're going to be successful. Maybe not that time, but he's going to praise their successes and notice them.
Yeah. Making environments safe and orderly for children to thrive, for children to try, is very important, and I think it's a mark of a person that's selected as Teacher of the Year as well. In your role as Teacher of the Year, you're often the ambassador for education for Southern Oaks Middle School. That means you're going to have to speak to different people at different times. Some of them may be new teachers. What would your advice be to new teachers?
Basically, when you go in, let it be all about the kids.
All about the kids.
My main focus, and again, would be keep your focus on the kids. Once you keep your focus on your kids, everything within yourself will kind of come out along with it. You'll become a better teacher because you learn from the kids as well as the kids learning from you.
I've always thought that if there were no students, there would be no need for the teacher. Yeah. Keeping in the idea of advice, what advice would you give to parents to help them ensure that their students are a success?
Advice I give a parent to make sure his students is basically connect with the teacher. Let's build a community among each other. Let's build a rapport between teacher, parent, and we can try to find a way to better help this kid succeed in class and out of class, and even in his life endeavors. And that'll be advice I give to just help the school as we try to help your kid.
Yeah, it's very important that we all continue to work together as one.
Yeah.
Ms. Sullivan, we're at the selection time for Teacher of the Year. And oftentimes as principal, you'll have an opportunity to speak to committees about your teacher. One of the first questions might be to you, Mrs. Sullivan, describe him using 3 adjectives. What would you say?
I would say dynamic, I would say dedicated, and very passionate.
Oh.
I'm going to give you.
All right. You want to stop at 3? Good.
I'll say 3.
Great.
I was going to say very. Does that count as an adjective? But okay, no.
Now, of course, you know they have a follow-up question. He's dynamic, compassionate, dedicated. So what makes him the perfect candidate for this honor?
Mr. Robinson brings the whole piece, all the pieces together for kids. He builds relationships with kids, which makes them want to learn, which makes them want to come to school. When they want to come to school, their parents want to know why they want to go to Mr. Robinson's class. Why does every kid in 6th grade want to be in Mr. Robinson's class? He has the content knowledge. He is a leader in professional development. It's the whole package, Dr. Perry, where I can go to Mr. Robinson and say, I need help in this classroom. And he's in there, supporting not only the teacher, but the children as well. Any parent that I ask him to help. And I know Mr. Robinson personally, when parents can't come to Mr. Robinson goes to them. He's at the ballparks, he's at the churches. He'll meet parents anywhere that they are available to meet. And it just builds our community. It's the whole package.
They'll give you one last follow-up question and say, is there anything else that you want to add and tell us about Mr. Robinson?
Mr. Robinson is not only a fabulous teacher and a cornerstone of Southern Oaks. He is one of the most loyal teachers I've ever had the privilege of working with, and one of my absolute favorite, best colleagues. We make a wonderful team, and I'm very, very proud of him for being Teacher of the Year, and he has my vote for St. Lucie County Teacher of the Year.
Of course he does. Mr. Robinson, we know that 6th grade is foundational, again, that transitional year for students in middle school. But how are you preparing your students to be career and or college ready?
Basically giving them the skills, like I said again, giving them the mathematical skills that can actually help them beyond my classroom. So when you leave my classroom, the skills that I'm teaching you is something that's going to teach you for 8th grade, high school, college, and even after college, you can teach it to your kids.
I don't really think it's even the math skills. It's the learning skills. It's how to be a learner. That's what the kids leave Mr. Robinson's class with, is how to be learners.
Here's my final question to you. When will you know that you are a success?
I know that I'm a success.
I know you're a success.
I know I'm a success once, when I see my kids a success. Once I see that the kids that actually came through my classroom or came around me or I mentor or dealt with are a success, that will make me feel like I'm a success.
Well, once again, I want to congratulate you for being selected Teacher of the Year for Southern Oaks Middle School. Thank you for joining us here on this highlight program. Mrs. Sullivan, thank you for joining us. Well,
thanks for having us.
And my final comment to you would simply be this. A good teacher is like a candle. It consumes itself to light the way of others. It's very important that you're lighting the way for all the students that you touch at Southern Oaks Middle School. And again, we thank you and congratulations.
Thank you for having me.
That's low. That's low. Look, he's blushing.
At this time, we'd like to welcome to our Teacher of the Year highlight show, Ms. Catherine Avra Hughes, the Dynamic Teacher of the Year for Southport Middle School. Welcome to our highlight.
Thank you. It's an honor.
Joining her is the Dynamic Principal for Southport Middle School, Ms. Nicole Talise. Welcome, Ms. Talise.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
It is a pleasure for us to have the opportunity to introduce you to our viewing audience as the Teacher of the Year for Southport so that they can all get to know you as well as know the wonderful work that's happening in your class. So would you please just briefly introduce yourself to our audience and make sure you tell them what grade you teach and the subject matter as well.
Sure. As you mentioned, I'm Catherine Avra. I teach at Southport Middle School. I teach grades 6, 7, and 8 visual art.
Visual art. What does that visual art thing entail?
It entails all the studio art that you can come up with: drawing, painting, printmaking, clay, sculpture.
Where did you attend school and what was your program of study?
I attended Northern Kentucky University and I studied art education with an emphasis in ceramics and art history. And I did my master's work at the University of Kentucky studying art education with an emphasis in fiber.
So, when you think about the work in the art studio, what is your favorite part of teaching?
My favorite part is coming in every day and being with my students and going on a journey, challenging them, supporting them, watching their small victories, and seeing them try new experiences, take risks, and I'm just glad to be there to help and support.
I think the world of art, or the arts, wonderful place to take students on journeys and use their imagination. When we look back in history and when we think about what the future can become and what it may hold, arts are a wonderful way to express all of that. When did you decide that you wanted to be a teacher?
I was probably about 3.
Okay.
Yes. I would line up all of my stuffed animals in a semicircle and teach them art from my painted easel, Katie's Art Shop. And I gave daily instruction on painting and drawing and writing and color theory. And then that evolved. My mother was a teacher and still continues to teach, even though she's retired. She substitutes and teaches Sunday school. And I was also inspired by my 4th grade teacher. She let me be teacher of the day every Friday throughout 4th grade. And so I got a good head start that way too.
Oh, so you were inspired by your mom and your 4th grade teacher.
Absolutely.
Oh, awesome, awesome. Now, in the world of the arts, I know we're using technology for many of the different medias. Yes. How do you infuse the use of technology in art instruction?
I think it's becoming very natural in our everyday studio experience. Last year I had the opportunity to implement the Adobe program, specifically Photoshop, and open students' eyes to a whole new digital world that they're experiencing every day without even knowing all the time. You know, breaking down images and collecting different images to piece them together to make new media, and also incorporating digital software into transferable skills that they can use in their future career. And so this year I've started out a lot of lessons with tidbits and short video clips to get them really hooked on and engaged and just actively involved from the start and get them really excited about what we're doing, whether it's graffiti from around the world or optical illusions and engineering. I just try to use technology to really let them know that we support the digital future and their careers and having all those skill sets in the everyday.
Mrs. Talise, you have an opportunity to experience the very vibrant atmosphere of the art studio every day with Miss Avra. What is it that you see and what is it that you hear when you visit her class?
Well, to begin with, obviously you always hear her modeling respect. That's a big thing at Southport, and the way she just approaches her students and approaches every lesson begins with just that. Her expectations and the way she treats students, you hear respect throughout everything. And then there's always a buzzing and a humming of excitement. She allows students to have choice in a lot of the studio projects that they choose, so if they feel empowered and they're excited to share their work and they're always asking questions and they're excited to give each other feedback and to receive feedback.
They're proud to share their work. Anytime I walk in, they're always, willing and eager to share what current studio project they're working on. So there's usually a hum in the air.
Also, what other activities is Ms. Avery involved in that kind of help the entire school operate?
She gets involved in pretty much everything. She's always actively participating in all of our professional development sessions. She really is a team player, and she's brought together not just the elective team, but she's brought in our cafeteria staff and a lot of our content area teachers to do some parent involvement activities. This year alone, she's put on an Art in the Park event where she brought in a lot of members of the community to come in and participate in it. She brought parents in, teachers in, and our students to facilitate it, and it was a wonderful event. She also organized a Winter Arts Festival where she collaborated with the band teacher and the chorus teacher, and she had students serving drinks and food, and so she's always bringing people together to experience the arts and the larger school community.
I heard you talk about the buzz, the hum, the enthusiasm, and Ms. Avery, I heard you use the word engagement. And we all know that our framework for quality instruction, DQ5, is all about engagement. So how do you purposefully plan engagement in your lessons?
I think I'm very fortunate to be in the art studio because
they lend themselves naturally, don't they?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think the biggest hook for engagement is I'm totally excited myself. I work in my home studio constantly, and the students want to know about that experience, and I bring that to the classroom, and I just try to impress upon them that this is your studio, this is your time to make your art, and I'm here to support you in that. And so I just try to role model my excitement to get them excited and really, really engaged in what they're doing.
As the ambassador for education at Southport Middle School, what would your advice be to a new teacher?
I would start with building strong relationships. Start with your students. They'll be your foundation. You'll see them every day, working with them every day, and let that relationship evolve to a mentorship with them, a truly one-on-one relationship of respect and confidence in one another, and build a strong support circle for yourself. Take advantage of your mentor and your administrative staff and your office staff. Build strong relationships and connections with the people that you work with every day.
Keeping the idea of advice, what advice would you give to a student and or a parent to help ensure that that child remains a success?
I think it starts with conversations, genuine conversations every night, in the mornings, in their spare time, diving deep into not only academics, but personal aspects, their friends, what they're doing online, who they want to spend their time with, and really trying to fill in all of the gaps in their life and help them along their journey and development.
Ms. Talise, we're into that selection process for Teacher of the Year. You may have an opportunity to speak to many people. It could even be a selection committee. And they may ask you to describe Ms. Avery using 3 adjectives. What would you say?
I would say passionate, caring, and inspiring.
I think those are also emotional words that are also connected to the area of the arts as well. They're going to want to know more, so they would follow up and say, okay, passionate, inspiring, caring. What makes her the perfect candidate for this honor?
I would say it's that she really has a true teacher's heart. Not only does she have the spirit of being a lifelong learner, but she really encourages students to become learners and to be excited about learning. And especially even the students that can be harder to get to, she assumes instant responsibility for building a relationship. And in her mind, every student is truly reachable and has lots of potential.
They will give you one last opportunity to just tell them anything else that you may want to say about Ms. Avery.
That she is wonderful, compassionate, and she truly embodies the essence of a teacher. And we are thrilled to have her, and our students are lucky to have her.
Ms. Avery, as the art instructor, you are preparing your students for what may come tomorrow. So how are you preparing your students to be career and or college ready?
I think absolutely it starts with the relationship, building that mutual respect, having students grow and develop with their confidence in themselves. But also, I try to convince students that art is all around them. Art isn't just in this classroom. It's not in this studio. It's not in the materials that you're holding or you're working with. It's truly in our greater world. And so I try to get them to expand their horizons with taking appropriate risks and challenging themselves. Specifically mentioning technology, so many transferable skills are built up that are useful not only to them now, but in their future career. If their supervisor needs them to come up with a new advertising campaign, now having those digital skills, they'll be able to meet that challenge.
Final question for you. When will you know that you are a success?
I think we measure both our success and our students' success in little ways every day. Whether it's a student who is helping another student with an assignment or opening the door, growing and fostering that mutual respect and that courtesy, that positivity, I think really helps students succeed every day.
Well, Joseph Campbell told us that the job of the educator is to teach students to see the vitality in themselves. Congratulations, and we thank you for helping students be successful each and every day and see the vitality that they bring to their lives. Thank you for joining us. Mr. Lees, thank you for joining us, and congratulations again.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Craig.
That's low. That's low and blue. Look, he's blushing. Seriously.
At this time, we'd like to welcome to our Teacher of the Year highlight show, Ms. Tasha Otto, who is the dynamic Teacher of the Year at St. Lucie Elementary School. Welcome to our highlight.
Hi, thank you.
Joining us also is the dynamic principal from St. Lucie Elementary School, Mr. Michael Reed. Mr. Reed, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
This is a wonderful opportunity for us to first congratulate you, but to also introduce you to our viewing audience so they can meet some of the fabulous teachers that have been chosen Teacher of the Year, but that represent the entire teaching field here in St. Lucie Public Schools. So would you please introduce yourself to our audience and make sure you tell them what grade or grades that you teach as well as subjects.
Okay, my name is Tasha Otto and I'm currently a first grade teacher at St. Lucie Elementary and it's all subjects.
Great.
Reading, math, science, social studies, teacher supervised PE.
Tell us also, what school did you matriculate at and what was the degree of study for you?
Okay, I attended East Stroudsburg University in Pennsylvania and my undergraduate study was in elementary education with a concentration in special education and my graduate study was special education with a concentration in applied behavior analysis.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
So, here's my question to you.
Okay.
Have you always known that you wanted to be a teacher?
Probably since I was about at the end of second grade, so I'm about 8 years old. So for
Very
a really
young,
long time.
Very young. Was there a specific teacher that possibly inspired you to want to be a teacher?
My first and second grade teachers were both amazing women that taught me, and I had gone through some stuff when I was at a really young age, and they had reached out and they made a major impact in my life and reached out and supported me and followed up with my education all throughout high school and throughout college.
Oh, that's
both
great.
Of them.
That's great. So, as you reflect back on your years of teaching, stimulated by those that inspired you to teach, what is your favorite part of teaching?
My favorite part of teaching is having a positive impact on the students and making them feel like they can be successful, and regardless of what it is that they want to do.
Would I be correct in saying giving those students the same kind of
feeling that I received.
Oh, awesome.
That you never forget.
Oh. How do you infuse technology into your daily instruction? You know, we know that these students born with technology in their hands. So how do you naturally infuse technology in instruction?
It's funny that you say the word naturally. I was just going to say naturally. It comes a part of planning. It's used daily. For example, in the mornings when we open up with math, we start with videos. With first grade, there's some characters that they're familiar with, so we'll use videos with Curious George that they interact with and on the big screen, and they come up and they select the answer, and they're allowed to come up to the computer and use the computer to complete the tasks as well.
Mr. Reed, you get to experience the excitement, the energy, the enthusiasm each and every day in Ms. Otto's room. Tell us, what is it that you see and hear when you visit the classroom?
Well, the first thing that you notice when you enter in Mrs. Otto's classroom is you notice a well-managed classroom. You notice that the conversations that the students are having are all centered around what they're learning. You also notice that not only are they having conversations with the teacher about their data, about what they're learning, about their levels, but also with each other. And they're talking to each other about how they're learning, the different reading levels they're on, and actually the different materials that they're reading, that they're learning during that day.
What other activities would you say that Mrs. Otto is involved in that possibly help the entire operation of St. Lucie L?
Now, Ms. Otto is, she's not only just a first grade teacher, she's also our team leader for first grade. Ms. Otto's class also serves as our model classroom for, not only for the inclusion program that we have at St. Lucie Elementary, but also for our Action 100 program. Teachers come in to view her implement the program. We've had visitors from other counties come in to watch her implement the Action 100 program that we're currently implementing at St. Lucie Elementary. So it's not just the fact that she's a team leader, she's also the instructional leader in her grade group, and she also serves as a model for ESC inclusion strategies, for Action 100, and also for classroom management.
Classroom instructor, model classroom, model teacher. Visitors come to watch what happens. So that leads me to think about our framework for quality instruction. Takes me over to DQ5 engagement. So I ask with that, how do you purposefully plan engagement in your instruction?
My big thing with my first grade students is to make them in charge of their learning. So I take about 15 minutes when a new lesson's being presented to bring the material to them. And then I use reciprocal teaching, where they go back and they help each other, and they come back and they present it to their groups, the different material. And I also have them track their own data across the curriculum too. So they actually graph the material that they're learning, how far they're coming, and they lead each other.
Reciprocal teaching could be a tough strategy for students to learn.
It can be a tough strategy, and when it was presented to me, I did further research on it, and I learned how I could use it in my first grade classroom, because they are young and they have to, it's all about procedure and learning their responsibilities and coming back and they're holding themselves accountable for their learning, and they have the drive to want to go further, and it makes it a little bit easier for the whole thing to come together.
As the ambassador for education at St. Lucie Elementary School, what advice would you give to new teachers?
Every student can learn, and every student will learn. Don't give up. Put your heart behind it.
No, I love the word heart. That's very important, having the heart for instruction and for children. What advice would you give to students or their parents to help ensure that they are a success?
Know that you can be successful. Know that no matter how far that you've come, you can always go further. There's no stopping your learning. And be aware of how far you've come. I mean, I hate to use the word data all the time, but a lot of it does come back to data, knowing how far you've come, where you've started, what the next point is, and to always have a goal.
Mr. Reed, it's that selection time, and principals often have an opportunity to speak about the candidate. We could even be at the national level, and the committee could be calling you. They would ask you to describe her using 3 adjectives. What would you say?
I would say that she is collaborative, well prepared. I'm going to count that as 1.
Okay.
And student-centered. I'm going to count that as 1 as
okay.
well.
Well-prepared, student-centered, and collaborative. Very important as we work in teams, work with our colleagues, But of course, you know, the committee will have at least one follow-up question, and just to hear your thoughts, they would say to you, so what makes her the perfect candidate for this honor?
I would say that the impact that I've seen her have on students and the way they've grown from when I've known them from last year to this point of the school year in her classroom. There are several students who are in her classroom now who struggled last year. And we have seen those students not only in the observations that we've had in her classroom, but also through their student data notebooks and our assessments that we give them. We've seen those students begin to thrive, not only just catch up, but begin to really thrive in her classroom and begin to excel academically and behaviorally. So I've seen the change that her relationships with her students has caused in their academic performance, and as well as the students' interactions with other adults, because now they know that they have someone who cares about them, they know they have someone who they can turn to, and they know that they're going to be supported at school.
Ms. Otto, first grade, very foundational time for students. But even in first grade, how are you preparing your students to be career and college ready?
Okay, well, I look at the school year as you start the year learning to read, and as the year progresses, you're reading to learn. And reading is used across the curriculum. It's used in math, it's used in social studies, science. We embed everything. But applying the strategies to real life, making them understand why they need it. Even though they're young, they can relate numbers to a lot of circumstances. They can relate words to a lot of circumstances. Interest, things that they have. I get to know what my students want to do, and if they say something like they want to be a scientist, well, let's find books about science on a first grade level, possibly a second grade level, and you need to learn to read that book if you want to comprehend the information out of that book. So,
is there something new or something exciting that you're working on this year?
Well, I'm a part of the Mark R. Marzano leadership team, and I had the opportunity to be a part of the ESET 2 conference back in September, which we learned about different strategies and writing to apply across the curriculum. So we've been implementing and collecting data on those strategies all year, and we get to go back and reflect with all of those members that were selected to be a part of that conference. So those are two things that really stick out.
Great.
For me.
Mr. Reed, let's give you one last opportunity just to tell us anything else, tell our viewing audience anything else that you want to about Miss Otto.
Miss Otto, she's not only a first grade teacher who has an impact on the 18 kids who are in her classroom. Her impact goes far beyond that. It reaches out to all the teachers who come to see her implement programs, to the teachers who come to get information from her and strategies from her relative to classroom management, and also as the team leader of the group, helping the teachers to negotiate. Many of our teachers are new to education and helping the teachers negotiate our framework. She has become very adept at that and helping them to know and understand not only what the elements mean, but how those elements can be implemented in the classroom. So our impact goes far beyond her classroom. It touches all the teachers who she models and mentors, and that impact goes, you know, across through all of our students who those teachers touch as well.
I heard the word she mentors, she models, she's collaborative, she's a part of the leadership. When will you know that you are a success?
When you see the look on your student's face that they know they are a success.
Wow, when students become a success after instruction. You know, I also heard the word heart, and I listened to the emotion and looked at Mr. Reed's face as we had this conversation. So here are my words to you as the dynamic teacher of the year for St. Lucie Elementary School. A teacher takes a hand, opens the mind, and touches a heart and shapes the future. Thanks for shaping the future and touching the hearts of those wonderful students that are in your first grade class at St. Lucie Elementary School. Congratulations on your selection. Thank you to you and Mr. Reed for joining us here on our highlight show as we present to our audience the Teachers of the Year for St. Lucie Public Schools.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sun sun, wake the sun, wake the sun, wake the sun.
And we are happy to welcome to our Teacher of the Year highlight show, Miss Jessica Bremer, who's the dynamic Teacher of the Year for St. Lucie West K-8 School. Welcome to our highlight show.
Thank you.
Joining her also is the wonderful Susan Seal, who's the awesome principal at St. Lucie West K-8. Miss Seal, it's a pleasure to have you on this highlight show as well.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Dr. Perry.
Congratulations for being selected Teacher of the Year.
Thank you.
This is our opportunity to introduce you to our entire viewing audience as a Teacher of the Year because you represent the brightest and the best in St. Lucie Public Schools. So would you please just tell our viewing audience your name, what grades you teach, as well as the subject?
My name is Jessica Bremer. I teach first grade and...
All subjects.
Yes, all the subjects.
All subjects. Tell us also, what school did you attend? And what was your major area of study?
I went to college in Illinois at Western Illinois University.
Really?
Yes. Did you?
I graduated from the University of Illinois Champaign.
Oh, I've been there before for fire school.
Yeah.
I used to be a firefighter when I was younger. And I went for education. So I got my bachelor in elementary education.
When you think back to teaching, what would you say is your favorite part of teaching?
My favorite part of teaching is definitely when that light bulb goes on for those kids. I really enjoy working with the lower kids and really making a difference in their lives and being able to enrich them and being able to give them what they need in order for them to be successful in first grade.
Now, I heard you say that you went to school in Champaign because you used to be a firefighter.
Yes.
That leads me to my next question then. When did you decide that you wanted to be a teacher?
Oh, I was a firefighter when I was 16. I was a volunteer.
Really?
Yes. And I did that for about 4 years. And
so basically throughout high school?
All through high school. And then when I left to go to college, I unfortunately had to quit. Okay. And I decided I wanted to be a teacher while I was going through high school.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting.
Actually, I decided a long time ago that I wanted to be but I was kind of debating whether or not I wanted to be a nurse because I really enjoyed being a firefighter. But I kept on going back to being a teacher.
To your passion, walking in your calling.
Absolutely.
Tell me this. Was there a special teacher that inspired you to become a teacher?
Absolutely. I loved my kindergarten teacher. She was delightful, and my mother is also a college professor. So she led me down that avenue of showing me what it is, a wonderful job.
How do you naturally infuse the use of technology in your lessons? And I tell you, I ask that question because I know that the students that you're teaching in first grade, they were born with technology in their hands.
Absolutely,
so
they
how
were.
do you naturally use that tool for instruction?
Now that you have given us opportunities to use YouTube in our classroom, we're able to bring that in, and the kids really enjoy that. We sing a lot of songs, and we have found Mr. Jack Hartman, and we sing our little 100 song every day to learn our counting to 100. And it's able to get the wiggles out. And
that's movement. That's
exactly,
dance.
They love it. But you know what? They're learning a lot while they're doing it. We use United Streaming. The kids are on Destination for their reading centers. I also was working with FAU, and I just recently received some tablets from FAU. So my students will start being able to use the tablets in the classroom and working on their sight words and any little apps that I can download to work on that stuff.
So would I be correct in saying that technology is infused into every area of instruction?
Yes.
Okay.
I definitely love technology.
I thought I heard that. I thought I heard that. Mrs. Seal, you get to experience this magic every day. What is it that you see and hear when you walk into Ms. Bremer's classroom?
I hear and see a teacher that is passionate about students learning in everything she does, from the setup of the classroom, from the dynamic interaction between her and the students. The students are always engaged. The directions are very clear. When you walk in, the students know what is to be expected and they're following along. If she needs to give them a reminder, it's very easy, it's gentle. The kids latch onto it and follow through.
In addition to that, what other activities is Ms. Bremer involved with that helps the total operation of school?
I'm so glad you asked that question. She is our first grade chair, and as you know, the district has really been pushing collaborative planning because there's so much research that supports it and supports the importance of it. Ms. Bremer, last year, through the training that the district gave, was one of our first teachers to jump on board wholeheartedly with it. They really took a great focus with writing because that was where they saw their biggest need. So again, that shows someone who is truly passionate about their students' learning because they didn't start out with what was easiest for them. They started out with where the students were in need and worked together through the entire year. Also, I asked her if she would have her team share at the beginning of the year. As you know, it's very cognitively demanding for teachers to get together and collaboratively plan. It's a huge process, and one of the things that we do try to let teachers know is that we are supporting them and we're not expecting them to reach the mountain peak in 1 year, that it is a growth process. She spoke to her team, and they all very willingly sat down in front of almost 100 other teachers and shared that there were times that it was very frustrating. There were lots of tears. And the ones who gave those tears were the ones who shared about what was frustrating at the time. But what really resonated was working through those frustrating parts. The joy that they found and the information that they all gained not only made them stronger teachers, but made their students stronger learners. That was truly one of the experiences that I think was one of the highlights of my year last year.
Mrs. Bremer, I heard Mrs. Seal use the word research. Our framework in St. Lucie County for quality instruction is based off of over 60 years of research, and it's quality instruction. So we know that DQ5 is all about engagement, which leads me to ask you, how do you purposefully plan engagement in instruction?
Well, this last year we actually did an LC on whole brain teaching.
And tell our audience what an LC is.
A learning community.
Okay.
And Mrs. Seal was very gracious and was able to purchase us some books on whole brain teaching by Chris Biffle. And we were able to dive deeper into whole brain teaching. And it's all about really engaging all of our students all the time and just making sure that all of the children are really engaged. So we make sure that everyone is participating all the time.
As the ambassador for education at St. Lucie West K-8 School, often called to speak to many different people. So let's talk about the word advice. First of all, what advice would you give to a new teacher?
That they need to just try their best, continue to reach out to the teachers that are there to help them on their team. It's best to talk with everyone, go to your team leaders, and teaching is a wonderful profession, and that it's great. And
let's continue with the word advice then. What advice would you give to a student or to their parents or their parent to help ensure that that child is a success in school?
That they really do need to work with them at home. The students really need to be participating in class, as well as taking control of their homework and making sure that they are working towards their goals. This year I have challenged all of my kids to learn 100 sight words. So all of my kids are very actively engaged in learning those 100 sight words, and I've put up a tracking piece in my classroom. It doesn't really look like a chart, but it's actually a palm tree on my wall, and they get to move their clips as they go. So the parents are engaged in that as well, and for them to all be working towards a goal. I try to get all the parents to be working towards making sure that they're signing the planners, that, you know, I'm making sure that we send home notes, and I try to contact the parents to make sure that they are in working with their kids at home.
So basically collaboration with the parent and a lot of communication.
Absolutely.
I'm going to give Ms. Steele an opportunity to talk a little bit more about you and share with our viewing audience. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
You have an opportunity to speak to the selection committee, and their first question would be to please describe Mr. Bremer using 3 adjectives. Your response?
My response would be passionate, dedicated, and the third would be, it's not one word, but really looking out for the entire school. The focus is her students, but the broader picture is the whole school.
Follow-up question would be, so what makes her the perfect candidate for this honor?
The fact that her passion infuses everything she does. I can think of 2 things this year that she has taken on that is highly unique. We wanted to increase our communication with our parents, especially with our students in need. And so she, along with some of her colleagues, have taken on the task of putting together backpacks, which will go home with students for a week. They'll be able to work on skills. There are activities in there to help the parents. The directions are clear, concise, so that they know how to work with them as well. And we're going to rotate that through 1st grade. We're also going to see how that develops as far as expanding next year. The other thing she has done, this year has been an interesting year with some of our incoming kindergarten students. We've noted a diversity of needs, and Ms. Bremer came to me and said that in talking it over with her team, they wanted to take some of their planning time and go in and work with the individual students to build the relationship with them this year, so that next year when those students come in, there's already going to be some relationships that are in place. We strongly believe that that is what has to be in place, because we believe that students don't know what you know until they know that you care. So those 2 things, I think, show exactly why she's so wonderful, in the fact that she's looking out for her kids with putting together the project of the backpacks, but she's also looking together for the whole school, as in how can her team help other grade levels.
Ms. Bremer, how are you preparing your students to be career and college ready, such a young age?
By looking at the Common Core standards, really diving in and understanding what is expected of those standards. It's all a stepping stone to get them ready to be college ready. I definitely understand. So by getting them to the point of our standards, we're getting them prepared for them to be ready for college, and looking towards the 3rd grade FCAT, even with 1st grade.
Let me ask this question. When will you know that you are a success?
When the children let me know that they don't want to go home and they want to stay at school.
That's always a good one. That's always a good one when
Yes.
students are there with us each and every day.
Absolutely.
Let me just leave this with you then. Everett Garrison told us these words: a teacher is a compass that activates the magnets of curiosity, knowledge, and wisdom in their pupils. It's very evident that you're doing that each and every day with the students at St. Lucie West K-8 school, and we thank you for the work that you do each and every day, and we congratulate you as well for your selection as Teacher of the Year. Thank you, and to Ms. Steele for joining us here on this highlight show as we highlight and spotlight the Teachers of the Year for St. Lucie Public Schools. When we talk with Teachers of the Year, we come to the realization that they have chosen the most challenging and most rewarding profession there is or ever will be. Imagine the light in the eyes of a newly motivated student, the smile on the face when a seemingly unfathomable concept is finally grasped. So we say thank you to each of them for being such wonderful teachers and exemplary role models and caring people. Thank you for knowing your subjects and sharing your knowledge. Thank you to all of these wonderful teachers for not being afraid to treat students like real people. And thank you for showing acceptance, approval, and appreciation. Because we know that is every day you make a difference, and every day you do that something that truly matters. Every day you leave an undeniable mark on the future, and we celebrate you.